Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm really excited because today is the first day of something that I am calling Halloween here on my channel. So I did a Halloween segment. I actually did one for the entire month of October on my old booktube channel years ago. And I decided that I wanted to bring it back for at least a few days before Halloween. So that means I'm going to be uploading a new video every single day until Halloween. So we got the next 5 days, I think, 5-6 days, I don't know. It's all just a blur at this point. But I have a really awesome video today for you, something kind of different, and that is going to be, if you liked this, then you will like that thriller edition. I know you guys absolutely love it when I give you thriller recommendations, and I've been reading a lot of things lately that kind of are similar to each other. So I was really quite easily able to make up a list of, if you like this thriller, then you will like this thriller based on certain aspects of the book. So whether it's kind of a similar vibe, whether it's similar situations, similar setting or themes or whatever, there's something about this book that if you liked this book, you will like this one. So we're going to start today. I do want to say really quickly before we get started today that I would love it if you would go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. It definitely it helps my channel if you hit the subscribe button, even liking, sharing, commenting. I'd really appreciate that as well if you don't mind. But yeah, let's get on into it. Okay, so the first two books that we are going to talk about is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. And if you liked The Paris Apartment, then I am positive that you are going to like Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. So obviously these can go back and forth. If you haven't read The Paris Apartment, but you liked Lock Every Door, then you'll probably like The Paris Apartment, you know, vice versa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the synopsis of each of these, and I'm going to talk about the similarities and differences in them without going too far into it, because I don't obviously want to spoil any of these books for you guys. But so first of all, we are going to talk about The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. So this one says, Jess needs a fresh start. She's broken alone, and she's just left her job under less than ideal circumstances. Her half-brother Ben didn't sound thrilled when she'd asked if she could crash with him for a bit, but he didn't say no, and surely everything will look better from Paris. Only when she shows up to find a very nice apartment, could Ben have really afforded this? He's not there. The longer Ben stays missing, the more Jess starts to dig into her brother's situation and the more questions she has. Ben's neighbors are an eclectic bunch and are not particularly friendly. Jess may have come to Paris to escape her past, but it's starting to look like it's Ben's future that's in question. The socialite, the nice guy, the alcoholic, the girl on the verge, the concierge. Everyone's a neighbor, everyone's a suspect, and everyone knows something they're not telling. Okay, so the next one is Lock Every Door, and that one says, no visitors, no nights spent away from the apartment, no disturbing the other residents. Oh, sorry, you guys, I should mention really quickly, my dog is chewing on her bone right below you, so it's either this or she's playing with her ball, so this, I think we'll take this. No visitors, no nights spent away from the apartment, no disturbing the other residents, all of whom are rich or famous or both. These are the only rules for Jules Larson's new job as an apartment sitter at the Bartholomew, one of Manhattan's most high-profile and mysterious buildings. Recently heartbroken and just plain broke, Jules is taken in by the splendor of her surroundings and accepts the terms, ready to leave her past life behind. As she gets to know the residents and staff of the Bartholomew, Jules finds herself drawn to a fellow apartment sitter, Ingrid, who comfortingly, disturbingly reminds her of the sister she lost 8 years ago. When Ingrid confides that the Bartholomew is not what it seems and the dark history hidden beneath its gleaming facade is starting to frighten her, Jules brushes it off as a harmless ghost story, until the next day when Ingrid disappears. Searching for the truth about Ingrid's disappearance, Jules digs deeper into the Bartholomew's dark past and into the secrets kept within its walls. Her discovery that Ingrid is not the first apartment sitter to go missing at the Bartholomew pits Jules against the clock as she races to unmask a killer, expose the building's hidden past, and escape the Bartholomew before her temporary status becomes permanent. So these are both extremely popular books. Lock Every Door has 142,000 reads on Goodreads, and The Paris Apartment has 213,000. I will say out of the two, I did like Lock Every Door better, but as you can tell, they both basically are set in apartment style buildings. They're condos, or I guess condos they'd be called. But they're like really old apartments, very expensive, high profile people living here, rich people living here, and we have these two main characters that are thrust into this situation where they are moving in and they are expecting one thing but getting another. They are both trying to search for somebody that has gone missing, and they're finding that the apartment has maybe something to do with it and the residents of the apartments has something to do with it. So a lot of similarities between these two characters and between these two plots and between the settings. I will say the Paris apartment starts off really, really slowly. So much so at first that I actually considered DNFing it, but I did end up liking it. I just think that these are two really, really spooky mysteries, really. I think probably the Paris apartment is more of a mystery, and I mean, mystery slash thriller, and Lock Every Door would be considered more of a thriller, but like I said, they both have a lot of similarities, so if you've read one and liked it, you'll like the other one. So next we are going to talk about In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead and The Reunion by Gilliam Musso. Most of you have probably read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife because that one on Goodreads has 47,000 reviews, and The Reunion is a lot less than that at only 11,000 reviews. So both of these end up talking about high school reunions, which is really interesting, and some mysteries that go along with that. Okay, so for In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, it says, a college reunion turns dark and deadly in this chilling and propulsive suspense novel about 6 friends, one unsolved murder, and the dark secrets they've been hiding from each other and themselves for a decade. 10 years after graduation, Jessica Miller has planned her triumphant return to the Southern elite Durkett University, down to the envious whispers that are sure to follow in her wake. Everyone is going to see the girl that she wants them to see. Confident, beautiful, indifferent. Not the girl she was when she left campus, back when Heather's murder fractured everything, including the tight bond linking the 6 friends that she'd been closest to since freshman year. So everything fell apart, including the dreams she worked for her whole life, and her relationship with the one person she wasn't supposed to love. Not everyone is ready to move on. Not everyone left Durkett 10 years ago, and not everyone can let Heather's murder go unsolved. Someone is determined to trap the real killer, to make the guilty pay. When the 6 friends are reunited, they will be forced to confront what happened that night, and the year's worth of secrets each of them would do anything to keep hidden. Okay, so then the reunion says, the French Riviera 25 years ago. One freezing night, as her campus is paralyzed by a snowstorm, 19-year-old Vinca Rockwell, the most beautiful and glamorous girl at her prep school, runs away with her philosophy teacher, with whom she has been conducting a secret affair. She will never be seen again. The French Riviera present day. Once inseparable, Thomas, Maxime, and Fanny, Vinca's best friends, have not spoken since graduation. But when they receive a notice from their old school detailing plans for a new gymnasium and inviting them to come to a class reunion, they know they must go back one more time, because there is a body buried in the gym's walls, and they're the ones who put it there. What really happened that long ago winter night? Now nothing stands in the way of the truth. So some similarities and some differences. Obviously, this is about a reunion. One is a high school reunion, and I think one is a college reunion. Yes, so 2 differences there. And one is about a group of friends trying to find out what happened to their classmates, and another group of friends who knows what happened to their classmate. And of course, each of them are getting, each group of friends gets some sort of letter or something kind of basically stating, I know something about the situation, and now these friends are coming here worried that somebody knows something. On the one hand, these friends are worried that somebody knows about what they did. On the other hand, we have these people that are wondering what happened to their friend, and somebody is saying that they know what happened to their friend. So so kind of some similarities and some differences with this one, but I think I liked The Reunion better, which is awesome because this is probably one that you guys haven't heard of. Like I said, it only has 11,000 reads on Goodreads, so a lot of you probably haven't read this one yet. So if you have read the Ashley Winstead book, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, if you like that one, check out the Gilliam Musso one, The Reunion, because I'm sure that you will like both. Okay, so the next 2 books that we're going to talk about another set that are fairly popular, and that is Final Girls by Riley Sager and The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. So both of these obviously are about final girls, which if you don't know what a final girl is, it would be basically the last woman standing in a horror movie. So both of these are about final girls. So Final Girls by Riley Sager has 134,000 reviews, and The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix has 75,000 reviews. So we're going to start with Final Girls, and this one says, 10 years ago, college student Quincy Carpenter went on a vacation with 5 friends and came back alone, the only survivor of a horror movie scale massacre. In an instant, she became a member of a club no one wants to belong to, a group of similar survivors known in the press as the Final Girls. Lisa, who lost 9 sorority sisters to a college dropout's knife. Sam, who went up against the sack man during her shift at the night shift inn. And now Quincy, who ran bleeding through the woods to escape Pine Cottage and the man she refers to only as him. The 3 girls are all attempting to put their nightmares behind them, and, with that, one another. Despite the media's attempts, they never meet. Now Quincy is doing well, maybe even great, thanks to her Xanax prescription. She has a caring almost fiancé Jeff, a popular baking blog, a beautiful apartment, and a therapeutic presence in Coop, the police officer who saved her life all those years ago. Her memory won't even allow her to recall the events of that night. The past is in the past. That is until Lisa, the first final girl, is found dead in her bathtub, wrist slit, and Sam, the second, appears on Quincy's doorstep. Blowing through Quincy's life like a whirlwind, Sam seems intent on making Quincy relive the past, with increasingly dire consequences, all of which makes Quincy question why Sam is really seeking her out. And when new details about Lisa's death come to light, Quincy's life becomes a race against time as she tries to unravel Sam's truths from her lies, evade the police and hungry reporters, and most crucially, remember what really happened at Pine Cottage before what was started 10 years ago is finished. Okay, so now we're going to move on to The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This one I liked least of the two. In horror movies, the final girl is the one who's left standing when the credits roll, the one who fought back, defeated the killer, and avenged her friends, the one who emerges bloodied but victorious. But after the siren fade and the audience moves on, what happens to her? Lynette Tarkington is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre 22 years ago, and it has defined her every day of her life since. And she's not alone. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other actual final girls and their therapist in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, putting their lives back together piece by piece. That is, until one of the women misses a meeting and Lynette's worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to take their lives apart again, piece by piece. But the thing about these final girls is that they have each other now, and no matter how bad the odds, how dark the night, how sharp the knife, they will never ever give up. So obviously the similarities between these two are survivors of horrible massacres coming together to try to lean on each other for support in these situations. So we have kind of, some differences are, we have the one group of girls who meet together every single week. They are constantly rehashing these events in this support group that they're in. They're leaning on each other a lot, and they are trying to work through what happened to them. Then on the other side, in the other book, we have a woman who is trying completely to forget it. She tries to block it out, she self-medicates, and she's just trying not to think about it until it's kind of pushed into her face when this other, final girl ends up dying and this other one shows up on her doorstep, and she's kind of forced to deal with the consequences and relive these traumatic experiences. Both deal with, women trying to overcome things, and obviously scary situations coming back to haunt them in the future, and different ramifications of that. All right, so the next 2 books we're going to talk about is Watching You by Lisa Jewell, which has 113,000 reviews on Goodreads, and Local Women Missing by Mary Kubica, which has 162,000 reads on Goodreads, so both quite popular. I would say I probably enjoyed Local Woman Missing the most, and we're going to talk about that one first. Okay, so I will say I read this one on audiobook, and the very first chapter actually scared me. Like, it just had my heart racing, thinking like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So I definitely recommend the audiobook version for this book. Shelby Tebow is the first to go missing. Not long after, Meredith Dickey and her 6-year-old daughter Delilah vanished just blocks away from where Shelby was last seen, striking fear into their once peaceful community. Are these incidents connected? After an elusive search that yields more questions than answers, the case eventually goes cold. Now, 11 years later, Delilah shockingly returns. Everyone wants to know what happened to her, but no one is prepared for what they'll find. And then in Watching You, it says, Melville Heights is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Bristol, England, home to doctors and lawyers and old money academics. It's not the sort of place where people are brutally murdered in their own kitchens, but it is the sort of place where everyone has a secret, and everyone is watching you. As the headmaster credited with turning around the local school, Tom Fitzwilliam is beloved by one and all, including Joey Mullen, his new neighbor, who quickly develops an intense infatuation with this thoroughly charming yet unavailable man. Joey thinks her crush is a secret, but Tom's teenage son Freddie, a prodigy with aspirations of becoming a spy for M15, excels in observing people and has witnessed Joey behaving strangely around his father. One of Tom's students, Jenna Tripp, also lives on the same street, and she's not convinced her teacher is as squeaky clean as he seems. For one thing, he has taken a particular liking to her best friend and fellow classmate, and Jenna's mother, whose mental health has been admittedly deteriorating in recent years, is convinced that Mr. Fitzwilliam is stalking her. Meanwhile, 20 years earlier, a schoolgirl writes in her diary, charting her doomed obsession with a handsome young teacher named Mr. Fitzwilliam. So these two, I will say, out of the list of 5, these two are the most farthest apart. They do have a lot of similarities, but I would say these are the least alike each other that in the list. But both, the reason why I've decided to put them both together is because they both deal with neighbors and like neighborhoods. So in the first one, you know, several women go missing from this neighborhood. It's an affluent neighborhood where things like this don't normally happen, and it sparks terror and controversy within the neighborhood. In the second book, it's more about these people are almost all stalking each other. They're all watching each other. They're all looking at each other, and they're all forming ideas based off of one another's actions. One is definitely more of a murder mystery, and one is more of a stalking sort of situation. So both are really creepy, but both definitely have similar vibes going on within the books. The last 2 books that we're going to talk about today is one of my favorite thrillers of all time, and that is from Karen M. McManus, One of Us is Lying, and that has 55,000 reviews on Goodreads. And the one that I'm sure that you guys haven't read, which only has 1,000 views on Goodreads, and that is The Killer You Know by S.R. Masters. We're going to start off with One of Us is Lying, and that is, pay close attention and you might solve this. On a Monday afternoon, 5 students at Bayview High walk into detention. Bronwyn, the brain, is Yale-bound and never breaks a rule. Addie, the beauty, is the picture-perfect homecoming princess. Nate, the criminal, is already on probation for dealing. Cooper, the athlete, is the all-star baseball pitcher. And Simon, the outcast, is the creator of Bayview High's notorious gossip app. Only Simon never makes it out of that classroom. Before the end of detention, Simon's dead. And according to investigators, his death wasn't an accident. On Monday, he died. But on Tuesday, he'd planned to post juicy reveals about all 4 of his high-profile classmates, which makes all 4 of them suspects in his murder. Or are they the perfect patsies for a killer who's still on the loose? Everyone has secrets, right? What really matters is how far you would go to protect them. This is one of my favorite YA thrillers. And The Killer You Know says, I'll murder 3 strangers and you'll know it was me. That way we'll all be connected. Always. When Will jokes about becoming a serial killer, his friends just laugh it off. But Adeline can't help but feel that there's something more sinister lurking behind his words. 15 years later, Adeline returns to Blythe for a reunion of the old gang, except Will doesn't show up. Reminiscing about old times, they look up the details of his supposed murder spree. But the mood soon changes when they discover 2 recent deaths that match. As the group attempt to track Will down, they realize that he is playing a sinister game that harks back to the one they used to play as kids. Only this time, there are lives at stake. So, obviously, differences are, one is almost more of a reunion type style situation, and the other one is something that's currently happening in a high school in present day. The first one is almost sort of a breakfast club type of situation where you have this mishmash of characters that all are kind of smashed together. They are all being accused of, or being investigated as being a part of this classmate's death. And then for this other one, you have this reunion that's going on between a group of friends. There's one that is missing that doesn't end up showing up, and they kind of start to remember that he had said these things and had promised that he was going to become a serial killer. And the more that they dig, the more that they realize there's something there. And they are trying to figure out where he is and what he has done. So there's definitely, once again, similarities as well as differences in them, but they definitely both include school, groups of friends, and trying to solve a mystery. In one, you kind of know who the killer is. You're just trying to prove whether or not a crime has actually taken place. And in the other one, there's a crime that has taken place, but you're trying to prove who the killer is. Anyways, you guys, those are 5 books, I guess really 10 recommendations, but 5 books that if you liked reading the one, you will like the other one, in my opinion. Make sure you let me know in the comments down below if you've read, you know, all of them or any of them. Am I right on these recommendations and thinking that if you like one, you'll like the other? I am talking with my hands a lot. I need to calm down. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here with me, and I'm going to see you back here tomorrow for another episode of Halloween here on Holly's Enchanted Books. Thank you so much, and I hope you're having an awesome day. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.